Details about a Clay County teen accused of killing their parents in their Middleburg home. Tonight, the 14-year-old's best friend is speaking with News 4 Jax. Family member also shared this photo of David Lee and Brandy Smith with us.
Their 14-year-old son, Trevor Lee, is now charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Their home sits near Silver Point and County Road 220. News 4 Jax reporter Alicia Hatcher went to the neighborhood where it happened and spoke with the teen's friend.
One of Trevor's closest friends, Kyrie Beeman, met us right outside of the Lee family home. He says he's known Trevor since elementary school and he just saw him Friday. He also says he spoke with him over the phone around 12:30 this morning, and the conversation they had, he'll never forget.
He told me that he loved me, and he told me that he was just calling to tell me goodnight.
The best friend of a teen now accused of murder replays the last conversation they had before learning the shocking news. Crime scene tape lined a Middleburg neighborhood Monday morning after a chilling 911 call from a 14-year-old boy.
I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of the news only getting comment from another person who's a juvenile. I don't know. If it's me and it's my child, I'm like, nah, no comment, no comment. It's enough to lose your best friend by this type of alleged conduct. I'm just not a fan of all right, if y'all can't get a story from an adult, from a parent, why y'all even hitting up this juvenile to ask them a question? I'm just not a fan of that shit.
911 communication center received a call from a young man who stated he had just killed his parents. He stated that deputies could find his parents at the house and that he had walked just over a mile away to a church.
Deputies responded and arrested 14-year-old Trevor Lee. When deputies got to the home, they found David Lee and Brandy Smith shot and killed inside.
Preliminary investigation, and we're still very early in this investigation, it appears that there was some sort of domestic argument last night between Trevor Lee and his parents, and that this shooting culminated from that argument.
Now, real quick, let's just take a quick pause for the cause here. This is a crazy-ass story, and it's going to be interesting to see how the facts develop. I'll be honest, I don't know which way it's going to go. I haven't watched the second video. Hell, I haven't watched all of this one. I'm watching it with y'all now, but I don't know what the facts are. So I'm not going to make any assumptions that things are one way or another. It would be interesting to know what the disagreement, what the argument was about. What were they beefing about? I would also want to know what is the general disposition of this kid. Is he a good student? Does he have friends? Is he outgoing? Does he keep to himself? Does he have any documented cognitive, developmental delays, anything like that? Mental health, those type of things. These are all questions that would just be going through my mind if someone dropped this kid's case on my desk and I had to represent them, or even if I'm actually was prosecuting this case.
When we arrived on scene, a family member was there but declined to speak. But one person did open up, someone who didn't just know the family, he considered them his own.
They were probably the best or one of the best families I knew. They were funny and they treated me very well. They told me all the time that they loved me like a son and they treated me as such.
Kyrie says it's still hard to believe, but he hopes people remember Trevor for more than just what happened.
He's not a bad person just because he made one bad decision. He's done so much for everyone I know, and I don't want him just to be known as a killer or a murderer, and that he was a great kid, a great son.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be the stigma that sticks with this young man after all of this. I understand what you want, but that's just not how it works. Not in this day and age, not with what he's alleged to have done. I don't even think it's alleged. At this point, he essentially conceded it when he called 911. So it is what it is. But this is actually a sad story. It's sad as hell. I'm interested to find out more about it.
Coming up on News 4 Jax at 6, we'll share the moment Kyrie says he will always cherish that he shared with the Lee family. For now, reporting, Alicia Hatcher, Channel 4, the local station.
All right, let's go ahead and jump right into this next story.
We're seeing the face of the teen who stands accused of killing his parents. 14-year-old Trevor Lee facing 2 counts of second-degree murder.
Now, typically, when you have juveniles who are in the justice system, the criminal justice system, they kind of take steps to protect their identity. So in court documents, you won't see a name. You may just see initials, JC, TM. You won't see their faces. When juveniles are charged as adults, faces are probably going to be shown, names are going to be disclosed. That's why we got this young man here. Again, I haven't watched any of this video, so let's go and finish.
And for the first time tonight, we're hearing his voice in the newly released 911 dispatch recording. I want to warn you, hearing the call may be disturbing.
You pray?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, I'll listen to you. Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. But now I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
Investigators say Lee was outside a church when he dialed 911 and reported himself. He stayed on the phone until deputies got to his location and took him into custody.
Now, I would be honest, that's a real interesting fact that he walked a mile, went to a church, called 911, pretty much told them what happened, and then had this conversation. From a defense standpoint, I think that's actually something that's good. I mean, from the sound of his voice, from how they're describing it, it feels like there was some either remorse and or accountability for the action that he just committed, which generally is a positive. You don't want someone to do something and they have no ownership of it. So that's generally a positive. Here, if I'm his defense attorney, I'm immediately requesting a forensic evaluation to find out what his mental state currently is. I'm looking at his medical history to see what his medical state was prior to this. And the other thing is just to see if he's competent enough to stand trial. It's quite possible someone could have potential issues that would make them not competent to stand trial. So I definitely would request a forensic eval as a defense attorney.
News for Jax reporter Eric Avenez here in studio with us with more on this new information he obtained in this case. Eric?
Yeah, we were able to acquire a lot more information than what we had yesterday when we first reported this story. Now, we now know where in the house the parents were killed and the extent of their fatal injuries. We also found out that the 14-year-old called his aunt in California before he called 911 to turn himself in. Just one day after 44-year-old David Lee and 45-year-old Brandy Smith were found shot to death inside their Silver Oak subdivision home in Middleburg, News for Jax has learned the couple was in their bed when they were shot multiple times.
God damn. Crazy. Damn.
Both were pronounced deceased when paramedics arrived. Investigators identified the killer as the couple's son, 14-year-old Trevor Lee. After the parents were murdered, Lee called his aunt in California. She then called Clay County 911 dispatch. What her nephew told her was redacted from the 911 recording.
They're in the house, please. Please. Can help immediately. Ambulance, whatever, immediately.
The teen traveled.
Why would they actually redact it from the recording? I mean, it's going to be common because that's going to be evidence that's going to be used during trial. This is an active investigation. Evidence used on an active investigation is generally not going to be publicly available. Why wouldn't it be publicly available? Because if you make evidence like that phone call publicly available, it'll actually put him at a disadvantage during trial. That's an actual exception to the Freedom of Information Act. Someone can say, hey, I want to get that phone call. Well, no, it's going to not be given out because it's an active investigation. Plus, if we were to give it, it would actually put him at a detriment into being able to effectively defend himself or tainting the jury pool. So I don't even know why that portion of the call was actually released. The whole fucking call, if I were the attorney, I would be like, no, Prosecutor, no, we aren't giving out any of this recording because all of it is paramount and important to the investigation. So I'm actually shocked that that little snippet of it, or these snippets of conversations even got out, because they have the ability to taint the jury in one way or another. So I'm actually shocked that the prosecutors are like, let's just redact this portion and let this shit go out. That's kind of wild.
To a nearby church parking lot and called 911. He stayed on the line until deputies arrived to take him into custody.
I'm by the road. I threw my backpack away from me. I'm stripped. I'm waiting for police. What do you mean you're stripped? Nothing in my pocket. I emptied my pockets and everything. There's nothing in my pockets.
While most of his conversation with the dispatcher was redacted.
Now, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking when he's talking about he stretched, everything is out of his pockets, I think that's just him using a little bit of common sense. Like, okay, even though I just did this act for whatever reasons, everything is, I don't got nothing on me. I didn't hear anything about him going into the church with the firearm, making any threats. Honestly, his actual demeanor during this phone call is very calm, which, again, 100% this young man needs a forensic eval. Right after his first appearance, we had his court date. We assigned him an attorney. You got a no bond, young man. Unfortunately, you're going to have to sit here. If no way he getting a bond. Even if he did, he won't have the resources to be able to do it. But that's a whole nother thing. But even his demeanor during that phone call is something that's just screaming like, yo, we got to check out to see what this young man's mental health history is and what his current state of mind is.
We hear him ask the dispatcher to pray for him.
You pray?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, I'll listen to you. Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now, I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
These parents are dead in their bed. And
retired JSO Director of Investigations turned News4JAX crime and safety analyst Tom Hackney says this was no doubt a heinous crime carried out by a kid, but he also says the fact that the teen called 911 to surrender himself says something.
Instant remorse.
See, I've been doing this too long. I agree 100%. Like, yeah, we did another story about a young man who shot his father-in-law, his stepfather. The young man shot his stepfather and then just went on the run. That's completely opposite behavior. This does show remorse. It does show some sense of accountability.
When you hear the sound of his voice and you hear kind of what he's going through, aside from the redacted part, you hear some instant remorse. And I think that's kind of bolstered by the fact that he left the scene and goes immediately to call 911 and turn himself in.
Now, the 14-year-old remains in custody at the Regional Juvenile Detention Center in Jacksonville. So far, he has not been charged as an adult.
While at Channel 2 Action News exclusive right now, we've obtained.
Oh, that's actually interesting. Let's go ahead.
We're seeing the face of the teen who stands accused of killing him.
Let's pause that. That's actually interesting. So yeah, they put his picture out there. He's not charged as an adult. Question: should this young man be charged as an adult? I know some of y'all, I got some tree huggers out there in the DFD community who don't want to charge minors as adult. This young man is 14. We don't know the circumstances, but he shot his parents while they were in the bed. They're no longer here. Y'all let me know in the comments. Okay, all right. Thank God. I was like, hey, shout out to everybody in the comments. Lisa, I appreciate you for tuning in. Sis, Maui, I 100% agree. When it comes to violent shit, I have no cut calls. When it comes to violent shit, firearms play, stabbing people, plotting murders, like, nah, if I don't care what your age is, like, unless it was like a toddler playing with the gun and shot somebody, outside of that, 14, charged as an adult. Again, I do agree that there definitely needs to be a forensic evaluation done. He may or may not be competent to go to trial. That's a whole separate story. But just me on his face, I'm charging as adult. The story we did about the fifth graders who had the murder plot where they were going to bring knives and gloves and they drafted a fake suicide note to kill this fifth grade little boy. Everybody's like, oh, they're kids. No, if that plot would have went through and they would have killed that little boy, everybody would have looked at it different. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, you do big boy shit, you get big boy sanctions. That's kind of always been my approach with things. Yeah, that's crazy. I actually want to follow this story to see the facts surrounding it. I want to know everything about it because this is interesting. I actually may put a pin in this one and may track it as it progresses. But so again, I definitely am not opposed to this young man being charged as an adult just for the nature of the crime. I think everything just makes sense to me. I do think he has some mitigating factors already. Again, he does seem remorseful. He did seem to have some type of accountability. But the biggest thing here is going to be a forensic evaluation. He's currently in the juvenile justice system, but that could transition into adult prosecution. So we're going to have to see how it plays out. The other thing is rehabilitation versus punishment for youth crimes. Where is the balance in that? I think it's a hybrid approach. I don't think a situation like this where a young man is charged with a violent crime or is going to be charged with a violent crime likely as an adult, I don't think you lean all the way into the rehabilitation. I don't think you lean all the way into the punishment. Actually, I think you probably lean 70-30 punishment versus rehabilitation.